Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to my first impressions of Isle of Jura. This is a 3D fishing game currently available on Steam for $5. And unfortunately, it's not very good. It's got a numerous amount of problems, including being stuck. Hold on a second. Okay, well, I'm unstuck now. I don't know if it was my controller acting up or what, but it's not the first time this game is kind of bugged out on me. I've had it kind of lock up in the menus at times. I've had numerous issues. This is a pre-release press copy. Now, normally I don't start the video out like that, saying like, oh, hey, here's a bug, and, you know, it's not very good, but, I'm at a loss for words sometimes. And I also want to do something a little bit different this time around. Instead of going through the game mechanically, you know, line by line, okay, here's the graphics. They look okay, except for these untextured rocks. Here's the fishing mechanic. It's really underwhelming. Here's the overall art style. It actually looks fine at times, especially in certain shots. The camera, oh, it's not very good. Instead of doing all that, I more so want to have an open discussion with the developer in a way. A open letter, if you will. I want you guys, in the comments, I know you're there, I know you're out there, you sometimes comment, I want you to be a little bit more vocal this time. I want you to look at what's going on in this game, and I want you to give your constructive criticism, your feedback, because there's a very good chance the developer's going to see this video. And the idea I want to put in your mind is, okay, this is a developer. Let's say there's just one guy, one gal, I don't know, and it's $5, and they don't have any budget to do anything, but they have some time. So what can we do to fix some things? To improve? Well, in my opinion, I would start with the minigame, the fishing minigame. This minigame isn't very engaging. For one thing, you have to wait. Now, I'm a fisherman in real life, actually. I've done a lot of fishing with my dad. And fishing is a game of patience. And that's fine, if the game wants to replicate that. However, there is a payoff to that patience in real life that is very difficult to replicate in a video game. So as you can see right here, I am reeling in the fish. I have my line out, and he's biting, and I have to hold the right trigger to keep this bar from going up too high or going up too low. And I just kind of balance that for a few seconds. Just keep it reeling, and there we go. Boom. Fish. Simple, right? Easy mechanic. It's just not very engaging. Now, in real life, you spend like 30 minutes sometimes waiting for a bite. Or like, you know, to reel fish in, like to get it really on the line and land it. And that's like the most satisfying thing ever, man. When you do that, you can't really replicate that excitement in a video game. I don't care if you've got VR with crazy haptic feedback. You're not going to be able to replicate that. The way the fish even pulls back on you, the way you can, the atmosphere, the water, you know, you're getting wet when you're landing it. You know, the feel, sensation of touch, the pullback on the rod, the sound it makes. You can get kind of close in some areas, like sound design, but there's just so much you can do. So what I would do is either make a fishing game with a ton of extras and optionals, you know, like, okay, here's all the biomes you can fish in, here's all this stuff, here's all your collectibles, here's your tracking all your fish. And to the game's credit, you can actually have a little journal right here, and it even shows the highest weight fish on there, you know, for your record. So that is nice, and they're illustrated all right. You know, I kind of like the aesthetic. But for the fishing itself, the mechanic, so it doesn't really have a whole lot in terms of that, you know, like around the fishing mechanic, and the mechanic itself is kind of dull. Basically, you hold right trigger to cast it out really far, and it doesn't really make a difference in my opinion. I think if you get like a sink attachment later on, it might improve a little bit, and you might get better fish, but for right now, there's no point in casting it out really far. In fact, you're better off casting it closer to you, because it's closer to and faster to reel it in. So that's one thing I would change. The other thing is that I would completely redo the mechanic itself. And really quick, don't use a stock asset like here. Like put some pictures of fish at least, like some clip art on that little bar that's going on right there. Don't just have it be as like a static green bar. Make it like a little themed, aquatic looking, like, I don't know, little bar with fish on it. You know, doesn't have to be too fancy. Anyway. Instead of you just using the right trigger the entire time, what I would do, and I'm going to demonstrate this on the character model, is you cast it out, right? You cast it out like that. And then what you do is when a fish gets on the line, you snap back. But instead of holding the right trigger, you push the left analog stick back. right? You snap it back to get the fish on the line. So you have this rumble, and this game doesn't have rumble, so I would, if anything, encourage the developer to put rumble into the game. So what I would do is when you have the fish get on the, start to bite, you feel like the rumbling, like doop 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 doop, and then when the fish gets on, like bites into the because you don't want to pull your bait back, your line back when the fish is just nibbling on it. You want that fish to really chomp on it, because then he'll get on the line and then he's easier to reel in. Because if he's just nibbling on it, you're not gonna land that fish. You're not gonna be able to reel in it. It's just gonna come right out of his mouth, and he's just gonna swim away, and you'll never see him again. You wait for that. Ooh, that left trigger right there. Okay, so you slam back on left on the stick instead of right trigger. Right. When you're reeling it in, you want to, instead of having it just be tapping right trigger, actually like twist the right analog stick. Twist, twist, twist. That's your reeling, because it feels like you're actually reeling it, right? So to recap, you let it drop, right? Okay, you feel nibble, nibble, nibble on the rumble, and then you feel big rumble when it does that. And then you snap back, right? This is where it starts. And then when you're reeling, you're moving the analog stick, counterclockwise, clockwise, whatever. And then you're just reeling them in, and oh, shoot, that's a different one. That's nice. Okay, cool. New fish. You're reeling them in, you land it, there you go. But instead of having it just be the right trigger, you use the analog sticks. So you have the left analog stick, depending on the angle, so if you pull it back, depending on where the character's facing, and then you use the right analog stick to reel it in. And you can have a kind of a fighting mechanic where the fish is trying to move away. Like, okay, you reel him in. Now the fish is going away, but he's going down, like deeper into the ocean. Okay, you want to pull. Because sometimes, like, the way these little bastards work is you want to actually, like, you don't want to reel in all the time. Basically, you want to jerk your line back. I feel like if this game kind of has, like, that mechanic of where you're not just holding one button, you're doing different things, and you're doing them at different times, you're more engaged into what you're doing. Because right now, in my opinion, the mechanic is just too simple to even think about recommending this game. Now, Mr. Developer, Mrs. Developer, I don't know who you are. It's kind of sucks to have your game kind of pooped on by me. I'm a nobody, but I know that this game, you probably worked on it. You probably spent a lot of time working on it. And it sucks to hear criticism sometimes, especially if I'm just taking a dump on it. So I'll actually change it up a bit and say I think your game actually looks nice for the most part. I really like the water effects with the foam on top. I like the little animated wind bits. It reminds me of Wind Waker. I like the color palettes, green and blues. I can nitpick all day and say like, oh, that waterfall doesn't look as good because it's got like that little, it's got like too much of an angle when it spills off. I don't like how the rocks are not really textured. They kind of stick out a little bit more. I kind of see what you were going for there, but it just don't think it works very well. And like, oh, I like the texture over here on this cliffside. It looks nice. And I like how you have little details. Like, oh, look at this. Look over here. So I can see the work. Like, oh, there's a little gull over there, a little seagull. But at the end of the day, people are going to be like, where's the gameplay? And if you want a chill, relaxing game, there are other fishing games on Steam. There are games with fishing mechanics. You can try Summer and Mara, and that game is kind of buggy. It's kind of got problems of its own, but I think you'll be a little bit more stimulated, and you'll still like the aesthetic. There are other things too, like the camera. It's automatic, and it can get caught in these trees. It's not great, but I do think that there is a good amount of work put into this, and I think that just a little bit more, and you can make this game really fun and engaging. It's only 3 hours long. So you get in, you get out. I would balance out the pacing a little bit more. The problem with this game is it's not really a problem, it's a mechanic. You fish, you sell the fish, and you buy better equipment, right? But there's only really rods and nets. There's no RPG elements where, okay, if you keep that bar in a certain line longer, like if you're really good with it, and if you can really pull off the mechanic like really well, there's no reward for that, unfortunately. There's no reward for keeping that bar in the middle, or like, when that quick time event comes up where that orange bar is moving across the green, there's no mechanic where if you hit the orange dead center on the green, you'll get more experience points for something. That's not happening. So maybe an experience point system would work towards maybe catching fish quicker. That sounds a little weird. Maybe for rods, maybe The mechanic is, well, she's mastering the craft a little better. She's a better angler, so she can put the bait on better. Therefore, the fish come faster, you know, something like that. You don't have to add a whole bait system to your game, but you could do that. Also, fishing with the net is more rewarding than fishing with the rod. And that's because whenever you fish something from here, it's a lot faster when you use the net, and you don't get that much less money than you do catching fish with the rod. If you catch something with the rod, it's like $2 more selling it than what you do with the net. So I end up kind of just getting the net out and doing the same QTE over and over again because it's more efficient. And it just takes forever to get those new rods. And even then, it's just a slightly different QuickTime event. When you have a game that's got a very bare bones mechanic and then like any other mechanics that like, you know, you expect to expand on them, like the fly fishing mechanic that this game has, you know, for that mechanic to not be well developed either, just to be slightly, just like a little bit more to it, just a tiny bit, it just doesn't make the player want to progress. And I was kind of just progressing just to get the video out. Like, not because I was enjoying the game, but because, like, I gotta play the whole game to show you guys all the mechanics, so I'm fair and balanced in my criticism. So we got a jellyfish, only $3, not great. That fish. So it might depend on, like, how far you cast out the rod, maybe the fish near, like, you know, the deep end. But honestly, you're better off just using the net, it's way faster. And that's a bit of a problem, because your progression mechanic is not rewarding. Already the system is kind of dull, and when it's not even rewarding to the point where you're getting more money to buy other equipment, you know, the equipment's not rewarding, the mechanic's not rewarding, and then the progression's not rewarding. It's a complicated thing going on right here, because I do like elements of this game. I think it's kind of cool, but we're doing the fly fishing mechanic right now. All you have to do is tap, 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 and you know, you're reeling it into yourself, which is kind of what you do in fly fishing. But yeah, you keep this little thing right on it. But there's no, yeah, failed. There's no benefit to having it dead center. Just try to keep it on as best as you can. There's no RPG mechanics. So there's a couple things I would, you know, recommend to the developer to, you know, improve upon. And I know it sounds like verbal diarrhea right now. I have to try to get as many points as possible out in this time spot. Otherwise, you know, people aren't going to watch the video. Whoops. Ah, Jesus. Shows what I know. I can't even do this right. So, again, to reiterate, I would make the mechanic a little bit better, use the analog sticks, texture the little fishing bar down here. You know, make it a cute little fish, I don't know. Match the aesthetic. Yeah, make it like a little cute little artistic render. If you can't afford an artist for that, that's fine. You can use free art online. There's plenty of royalty-free fish clip art that you can find. Totally fine. Acceptable for the price. Second thing would be to maybe texture the rocks a little bit, make some of it a little bit more consistent. But, you know, that's not a big deal. But visually, it helps for the screenshots when you're trying to sell the game. The other thing I would recommend is to balance out the progression for how fast you get the rods. I don't want to feel like I'm just spending half an hour unlocking a new mechanic that's not very good. I want to be like, okay, I'm getting these fish left and right, or okay, I'm taking my time, and I'm really getting like the expensive fish, right? To just go back to the net and just abuse this QuickTime event, well, it's not very good. But yeah, those are just some of the things I would suggest to the developer. Those are the bigger things. Aside from, I wouldn't texture the rocks. Put that as a high priority thing. It's fine. You can make the game better. You can make the game better on a shoestring budget, and either my controller's not working or I'm stuck again, and it's this spot, it seems. Yeah, I can't move at all, but I can still... So either my analog sticks are dying, or something else is going on. We'll actually check that right now. But anyway, guys, that's pretty much it from me. I will see you guys next time. Hopefully the developer sees this. Yeah, my sticks works fine, guys. That's the game. That's happened several times. I've also had some items go missing from my inventory. They seem to have been logged or sold for me, which is fine, so I didn't lose any time. But that is weird that it happens. Stuff disappears from my inventory, and it's either put in the museum over there. You can sometimes catch rare items. I didn't get a chance to talk about that. It's not really a really interesting mechanic in its current form. And also sometimes, like, I guess fish that's in your inventory is either gone or maybe it's sold. Wouldn't be able to tell you that, but for sure it's left the inventory. And At some angles, when you're casting line, sometimes you get stuck, and sometimes you can't see anything, and I've fixed the camera too. There's a lot to unpack. I'm sorry for the developer who has to... Thank you, if you watched to the end, thank you. You're one of the few really good developers I can give you a lot of respect to, if you did that. But, fix the bugs. You're probably working on that already, but please try to make the mechanic better. I think you can make a really interesting game, and if you fix these problems, I'm going to write a Steam review. It's going to be negative, but if you fix these problems, I will give you a positive rating. If you can make that fishing mechanic good, I will give you a positive rating. I swear to God. I will check back. But anyway, guys, if you have any thoughts, please let the developer know in the comments. Keep it civil, of course. Keep it reasonable. Keep it reasonable as you can. We're not developers. I'm not a developer. You're not a developer. But maybe you have some interesting feedback. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. I'm out.